Again, read the problem. Paul, a real estate broker, listed a parcel of land for $500,000 with a commission of 10%. A few days later, he presented an offer that was 5% less than the listed price. The seller agreed to accept the price if the broker would reduce his commission by 15%. If Paul agrees to the seller's proposal, how much will his commission be? Again, what's the problem asking? How much is Paul's commission? Let's look at it one more time, a little more quickly. Paul, a real estate broker, listed a parcel of land for $500,000 with a commission of 10%. A few days later, he presented an offer that was 5% less. The seller agreed to accept the price if the broker would reduce his commission by 15%. How many rates do we have here? 3, right? What's that mean? It means 3 circles, doesn't it? So I'm looking at this problem, and again, I look at this and I go, oh, Tom, I have no idea how to do this. Don't panic on that, okay? Analyze it. How many rates? Well, let's see, I can do this. 10%, 5%, 15%. What's that mean? It means 3 circles. So we come over, go to the bottom of your paper, and you draw 3 circles. Put your division sign in, put your multiply sign in. Don't get lazy on me. I know some of you are doing that. Don't do that. Okay, I start looking at my rates then. Well, it says I listed a parcel of land with a commission of 10%. So I know one of my circles is going to have 10%, right? Then I come back here. I presented an offer that was 5% less than the listed price. So I know one of them is going to have 5%. And then finally we get down here, and he's trying to get me to reduce my commission by 15%. So I'm going to have 15% here. Now we've got to start looking at this a little bit and analyzing it. It was listed for $500,000 with a commission of 10%. But is the 10% commission against the $500,000? What's it say? The offer was 5% less than the listed price. So our sales price is not going to be $500,000. It's going to be 5% less, right? So let's calculate that. Let's go to our 5% circle here. Remember, the big number is normally at the bottom, so we're going to have 500,000 here. And the property sold for 5% less than that. Well, there's a hint that I can give you here, because remember, the part up here, the top of the circle, is always this percent of this number here. The top of the circle is always this percent of this number here. Well, we know we didn't sell it for 5% of the listed price. We sold it for 5% less than the listed price. So if you think about it this way, if the listed price was 100%, we sold it for 5% less than the listed price. We actually sold it for 95% of listed price. You follow that? If the listed price is 100%, we sold it for 5% less than the listed price, then we sold it for 95% of the listed price. Then the rule of the circle is this. When you have part of the circle done, two portions of the circle filled in, do the math. So we take 500,000 times 95%, and we find out that we sold this for $475,000. Okay? So there's our sales price of the property. Now, go back and look at the problem again. What's it say? It says the seller agreed to accept the price if the broker would reduce his commission by 15%. Okay? So the seller would accept the listed price if the broker would reduce his commission by 15%. Well, we don't know what the commission is yet. So now we've got to calculate the commission. Well, we know the sales price was $475,000. We know in our commission circle we have the commission, the sales price, and the rate. So we can bring that $475 in here. 2 portions of the circle, do the math. 475 times 10%, and 47.5 then is going to be our commission on the property, or the commission we hoped we were going to get. But what's the problem say? It says that the seller will accept the $475,000 if the broker reduces his commission by 15%. Well, we know we were trying to get a commission of $47,500, but we're only going to get a portion of that. So we take our $47,500 over here. That becomes the larger number because our commission is getting smaller here, unfortunately. And think about it again. Does $47,500 represent 15% of our total commission? No, that doesn't sound right. What if our total commission was 100%, but we're taking a 15% reduction, same thing that we did here before, so our commission is going to be 85% of what we thought we were going to get, okay? So we take that $47,500, and I'll pull out my handy-dandy calculator here, and we should come up with $40,375 is the amount of commission that we're going to get on this particular problem. Now, think about that again. We listed it for $500,000, and the seller got an offer on the property at 5% less than list. Okay, so we took the 100% minus 5%, and we sold it for 95% of what we had it listed for, or $475,000. On the $475,000, we were supposed to get a 10% commission, which would have been $47,500. But the seller said he would only take $475,000 if we reduced our commission by 15%. So our concept here is if our total commission was 100% of what we should have received, we subtract 15% of that, and we're going to get 85% of what we really wanted. So we take the 85% times the $47,500, and in this case, Paul is going to walk away with $40,375. So we can buy a little nicer car on this one. Okay, hopefully that helps you on that particular problem. Now, before I go on, I want to talk about calculators a little bit. What I would recommend to you is a simple 4-function calculator. You don't need anything more complicated than that for the state test. You don't need one that figures out amortization. You certainly don't need one that does sine and cosine. I don't know how many times I've seen those in classes. You need a simple 4-function calculator. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a secret. I bought this one in 1979, a couple years after I went into real estate. And it's still going along today, and I'm still using it today. That's all you're going to need for the test. Second secret of a calculator is this. Make sure that you can read the readout on it. A lot of times I'll have students come into class, and they have a nice 4-function calculator, but they got it free with a credit card, and it's about this big, you know. I can't even read it. And I say, go spend a couple bucks at the local store and buy a good 4-function calculator. So make sure that you can read the readout. I'll give you another hint on the calculators. A lot of times I'll see calculators that will do this. And it puts the commas up on top instead of on the bottom. That also makes it hard to read. Math is tough enough without having to be difficult to read the answer. So you want a calculator that puts the commas where they're supposed to be, if it's a kind that does that, and uses decimal points where you're supposed to have decimal points. And then you'll be in good shape. So just chop a little bit. You don't have to spend a lot on the calculator, but chop a little bit, get one you can read, and one that gives you a readout that you're familiar with, not something that's exotic, and certainly not something that does cosine and sine and scientific type of problems. You just don't need it. It just makes it too complex. Okay, I'll get off the calculator thing and move on here.